It's okay if you listen on Google Play, but also, no, I'm just kidding.
So today we're here and we want to talk about the new worship music project that's come out. And we've got Hannah with us and Theo and Josh, and they're all from the worship department, the music department here at the church. And so let me just jump in here. This new project that's releasing in just a couple days. This new project is called Above the Noise. Walk me through why this idea of Above the Noise. Where'd that come from? And we obviously ended up naming an entire sermon series after what you've done. So where'd that come from?
You got it. Look at me. So one of the songs we wrote for the EP is called Made Away. And that song was born out of me. I was at Calvert and Megan was leading a worship practice and she was praying with the team, and basically the devotion that she was leading with them was like, God is all around you, like just open your eyes, open your hearts, like look for him and he's there. And so that was like the inspiration behind that song. And so when Patrick and I went to go write it, we wanted to talk about the obvious things that God has done for us that we can point out. So the chorus says, you called us out of the deepest void, whispered your grace above all the noise, and we're alive now that we hear your voice. So the concept of just recognizing that God called us out of darkness into light. And so that's where Above the Noise came from. And then in May of this year, so in quarantine, kind of not knowing where the project was sitting, I came to Josh and I was like, I really think we need to do this now. I think this is for people now, because there was a lot of noise in May going through. And I was like, we need to call this Above the Noise and just
and
remind people.
Of course, all that noise has calmed down now.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. So this is great. Look, now you guys have, this is your second project, and you guys have a process that you use to go through this. So all of you, when you came in, when you joined our staff here, one of the things we talked about was on the team, we want original music. So you began to build that process. Talk to me about the process you use, and maybe, I don't know, tell me a little story about how it changed, because this is your second time around. You've probably gotten better at it, probably different. So.
Well, that's gonna be. I can talk about how I feel like it's changed from last time to this time, but tell us the process.
So when we first sat down, I don't know, people may have heard this story before, but we were sitting in the dome on the stage with the worship leaders, and I just wanted to write songs for the church specifically. Josh and I talked a lot about that. This was like our gift to the church. This was our like prayers for them and like the people that we know in the congregation at all of the campuses. We wanted to feel very personal, very close to them, pulled out of their situations, their stories, and their prayer requests. And so that's kind of the heart of where it started. And then the other thing we wanted
now, let me dig into that, because if I remember, you actually asked people to send in their prayer requests, and then that kind of drove your thinking as you wrote the songs in the last project.
Yeah, so we would dig through the prayer requests that came in every week from weekend services from each campus and just start to notice themes.
Yes.
And different, like similar scenarios that people were going through.
Okay.
And that kind of drove that. And then the other thing is we wanted to just plainly talk about truths about God. So not being too heavy with metaphor or too church-ese or confusing, and it's hard because we all are used to that language, but that was the other thing that we put on ourselves was we're just plainly going to talk about what God is doing.
So how did that change this time?
Well, one of the cool things I noticed is, as she was saying, there was a heavy focus in focusing on the congregation, their prayer requests, all those kind of things. And Hannah came to us before this project and she was like, I don't want us to forget about our congregation. We're still writing for them. So keep praying for them, keep going over these prayer requests. And we were doing that. But there was this very clear thing that began to happen is that we would be at home or, in different places, and it would seem like God was giving us songs, God was giving us melodies, God was giving us lyrics. And we would start these songs apart from each other, apart from the group anyway. It might be one or two of us somewhere doing something. And we would start these songs, start these melodies. Then when we would all come together to write, we would realize that a lot of the songs were saying the same things. And so whereas the last project was kind of man, I was praying over this family or praying over this request, and it seems like this is what was happening. This is what God was. It's almost like this is the song God gave to us for this family. This time for me, it felt more like this song was for me, and God's going to use it to bless all these families in the church.
Right.
But He's speaking this to me right now. And the cool thing that was happening was, Josh would be starting a song, and I would be starting a song, something completely different times. But when we came together, there were these two songs that had the very same vibe and some of the very same words even, and that was fun, and it was cool to see that God was speaking to us all the same. But it was also
Obviously,
kind of
fun was not the word some of you would use.
Well,
yeah, it was kind of frustrating.
it was frustrating, but when he says they were similar, like they were similar enough that we combined a lot of songs.
Now, as I remember, the pastoral staff, because the pastoral staff speaks into this too. You present these to the pastoral staff, and some couldn't come through because we're checking for theological correctness. We're checking for, is this where we want to go? And so my understanding is we went through that. The pastoral staff, I think there were 30 songs.
Yeah.
And the pastoral staff said, no, this one's like that one, this, and then you took it back, laid it all out. And that's where your frustrating process
Well, frustration, but in a good way.
Yeah, it
like
was really good.
legitimately, the pastoral staff blew everything up, and that is what we needed. Like we have to have those oversights that are from different people to show us where we might be going wrong. And that moment when that happened was, it was tough, but it was actually really cool. There was probably one other moment after that, but that was one of the big moments that we all came together and were able to like really bear out what we ended up with. And Hannah was the one driving that day. That was a really long week, but we pretty much took those 30 songs, and she can explain how, but we took those 30 songs and dropped it to 14. And that was through cutting some songs, combining songs. Like, was there a song that was like 3 songs put together? Like stuff like that started happening, and that's when, like what Theo was saying, it was really cool to see how God used each different person in different ways and then brought it all together. So that was really cool.
I just want to brag on this team because bringing 8 to sometimes 12 people in that songwriting room to bear their heart for songs that they feel like God is telling me this. And the first thing that we ever did in our very first songwriting meeting is I said, you have to leave your ego outside of this room.
Right.
Because of the goal that we have in front of us. We want to write songs for the church, and we want to write songs that just plainly talk about God. So that's the lens we're using. So for them to trust me to take 30 songs home and then the next week come back with 14 songs that were their babies, is their heart, was just, it's hard to do anything with, I think, 8 people in a room where everyone comes out loving it at the end. But that's why this team is, I don't know. I love working with them.
I didn't personally see it, but I heard stories of her going like straight up Sherlock Holmes and taping stuff to the walls and tying things together. But when she came back to us and was like, "This is what I think we need to do," it was pretty crazy. It was pretty awesome though.
So, as the old guy in the room, it's nice to see the musicians creating music going through the same process we've wrestled through with creating sermons for years. Because you bring something in, and anything you create, you use the right word. Anything you create is like your baby. It's personal to you, and so for the team to be able to allow that is really a cool thing. Now, let me ask you a question: how did COVID affect the process of getting this done?
I think the biggest thing it affected. Well, probably there were 2 things. The timeline. So we wanted to, I guess we actually ended up speeding up the timeline because of COVID, but we wanted to do a big live recording concert.
Right.
And that was just not going to be able to happen. Like, we're sitting at a place now where that still can't really happen because we would want to get people, like, mic the congregation and get them singing, and with everybody singing through masks, that wouldn't be the same thing. And so we had to pretty much change entirely how we wanted to capture the project and then come up with a brand new timeline. It was going to be a full album at first, and then it was like, okay, we need to get this done a little quicker in a different way, so we're going to drop it down to an EP, and we haven't been able to introduce songs yet that we wanted to introduce, so let's just pull it back a little bit. And then we ended up doing still live recording, but not in a concert setting. We actually set up what we call a void in the sanctuary. We broke down the whole sanctuary, set up a void in there. And
a void, for anybody that doesn't know, is just a square. It's a box of black curtains
And
that
tablecloths.
that just allow us. You got to be creative.
Yeah.
That just allow us to have it takes any distraction away.
Yeah. So we were able to record that and send it out to a group that we're working with in Nashville that was just super helpful through the whole process, and we got it back and we're super happy with it. But the coolest part of all that is COVID threw a wrench into our plans. But it's actually like the way the entire team, not just the worship team, but the way the entire team here learned how to do video and production and just capturing both video and audio and people, like that, God used that to allow us to make this possible.
That's awesome.
And without that, I mean, we all know we wouldn't be doing this show right now because we wouldn't know how. Like, without COVID, it made us grow in really cool ways, and that is what allowed us to capture the project how we did.
That's awesome. So tell me this, do you have a favorite or a couple of favorites in terms of the songs? Walk me through that question. Is that fair to ask? Can you have a favorite child?
For me, my favorite song to listen to is, which it's out right now, but I just love the recording of Jesus Is Here for a few reasons. First of all, Theo killed it. Like, he just sang like crazy on that. And then second of all, our bassist on that went crazy.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I love listening to the bass on that one. And I've just always loved that song because it's really catchy, and it was one of those songs that was maybe
like
going to
2
be on the
years.
first project, and it got reworked and everything. And so I just love that one. But probably my favorite one in terms of the process that it took to get it where it is You Will Deliver, which we haven't introduced yet to the congregation. It's actually going to be brand new on the EP, and it'll be the first time people hear it. But we all wrote that like together. Like, that's probably the only song. Like, there's been songs that we all had a part in, but there was pretty much all of us in one room writing that one together.
I remember the story. That's one of those songs that took 2 or 3 of the songs out of your 30,
Yeah.
started pulling them together, and then really God just moved as
Yeah.
you were
So-
finalizing the bridge and different things. Yeah.
Me and Theo wrote the verses of that one, just the two of us, and it was a totally different song. And then Hannah,
Which the story behind that song alone is
Yeah.
beautiful.
yeah, and then we all were in a room together and we wrote what was the original You Will Deliver, and then when everything got blown up, Hannah combined those two, and then we had a version of it then, and then right before we were going to record, we sat down and we were like, there's something off, and we were able to rework the bridge and make it what it is now. And so I just thought that one was cool because we all got to really work together closely.
Tell me the story of Hannah just mentioned that. Tell me the story of how you got the verses together. Where'd that come from?
Well, me and Josh were over in one of the buildings. We were messing, and I love the melodies he comes up with because they're very, I call them like coffee house vibe. Like, they're not your typical Sunday morning melodies. And I'm like, yo, let's write with that. Let's go with it. And so, trying to come up with lyrics that go nicely with it. And he's just like, I can't think of too much. And so we come up with like I don't know, one verse, half a verse, something like that. And I was like, that's good. And he was like, I'm frustrated with it. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna take it home. I'm gonna mess with it a little bit. So I came back, I don't know, a couple weeks later. But during that couple weeks, I was writing from a place where some months before that, my dad had passed. And so I was writing from this place of I need to focus on where my foundation is. When everything around me is chaotic and crazy, I need to focus on my foundation. And so that's where those verses come from. Your love is my salvation, your love is my foundation. And so I brought it back to Josh. I was like, what do you think of this? He was like, oh yeah. So he started working with the verses with me. We started tweaking certain stuff. And that became a song that we originally called Stand. And then again, we all got together and we were writing You Will Deliver. And then one thing led to another and we combined the two. And it was like the strengths from both were able to be put into this song that's now You Will Deliver.
That's amazing. That's awesome. So tell me this: if somebody in the congregation wants to get to this music, how do they get to it when it's released in a couple days? Because it's going to be released on the
October 2nd.
October 2nd. Okay, so if they want to get to it, what do they do?
All right, so I mean,
I know we're gonna send them a link.
yeah, there's a bunch of different ways. If you listen to a lot of music already and you have Spotify, Apple Music, you listen on Google Play or whatever. It's okay if you listen on Google Play, but also, no, I'm just kidding. But no, if you have Spotify or Apple Music, you can just search New Life and you can find us on there. But if you don't listen to a lot of music and you're kind of getting into the streaming,
Will they need to
there'll be a
look
link.
up NEWLIFE.live?
No, just New Life.
Play because there's a bunch of New Lives out there that aren't us.
Yeah, so just New Life, and then if you can't find it, maybe New Life and then one of the songs, or New Life Above the Noise, it'll come up.
Okay.
But if you search New Life, and if you don't see us, just keep scrolling until you see a picture of all of us. It should just pop up.
And what is the best thing that somebody like me could do to help other people find your music and see it, to help us get this spread out? What can everybody do to help that? Share it. So
Yeah. We have like our YouTube page with all of our music videos on it. Share the links to those videos, or even just the songs on Spotify, Apple Music. There's always a link for those things too.
Okay, so is it better to share it from YouTube and Spotify, or is it okay to share it from Facebook?
Whatever
Or-
you like most. If you like watching the music videos the most, then share the music videos on social media or with your friends or family. If you're just trying to send people good music, then you can just text them a link to whatever Spotify or Apple Music, or you can text like the big link. We have a big, they call it Linktree link, that has, if you click on it, it'll take you to a page that has a link to all of our stuff. So
Okay.
it can be every streaming platform, our YouTube, and if you want to buy like a shirt or something, it has that link on there too.
So let's kind of land this plane this way. Tell me what your hopes, dreams, expectations from the Lord are long term with this music ministry. Because look, music ministry in church has traditionally been, you guys lead us in singing on Sunday and do specials when we need it, and that's kind of the end of the process traditionally. But you guys are taking this to another level. What do you hope to see out of that? What do you expect God to do out of that?
Well, I think.
You guys both answer the question.
One of the first conversations that Josh and I had was, this is all about the church. This is about New Life Church. And if no one outside of the walls of New Life Church ever hears one of these songs, that doesn't matter to us.
Okay.
Like, that's not the point for us. So our first goal is to minister to the people in our church. Because we're not just like off in the corner writing songs all the time. Like, we're engaged in the congregation in a lot of different ways, leading worship, youth, all of this stuff. We're just around, the church. And so we just wanted this to be specifically for people, for them to feel seen, for them to feel, cared for, prayed over. But we also have big dreams. So
something that I've been noticing, and I 100% agree that if it doesn't go any further than here and God truly uses it here, that's cool. Something I've been noticing is it definitely has the potential and has been going further than just New Life. I'm from Delaware, and so anything I share on social media, I've got friends from Delaware who will check it out. And I don't even think about it most times. I'll just share it, and but I'll get these random texts or Facebook messages from friends back in Delaware. It's like, man, this stuff is actually good. And so it's kind of cool to see that our heart and our mind is God, we want to reach your people, but then it has so much more potential to go so much further. So that's been kind of on my mind, where it's like we can do so much more.
I guess the best way that I can put it right now is, we want the music to be the story that God is writing here. And I think all of our prayer would be for the whole ministry, that the story that God is writing here be inspiring enough to inspire people everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's the goal. And so already, in terms of expectations, already we've seen really cool things. We've got churches in Australia playing the music. We've got churches around the world playing the music, and then people around the world listening. And
you got churches in Canada doing it.
Yeah.
I know that.
so it's been really cool to see what God is doing already, but the biggest thing we want to do is minister the best we can to the people here, and let God know that we did our best, and let God do the rest. And whatever God wants to do, that's okay with us.
All right. Well, the EP is Above the Noise. It is our second release. You will have, there'll be links out there to all of it starting on October 2nd. So everybody download, like, share. This is not Facebook, so don't worry about commenting. But do everything you can to get this out there, because I think God's using you guys, and we're really proud of everything you guys are doing.